Ladies and gentlemen, Rick Spare Leak Project, how the heck are you? If you feel a little bit of a shake underneath your feet, if you think the ground is moving, it actually just might be. The earthquakes since 2012 have skyrocketed. There were several years there that it was just, small peaks and valleys. And then 2012, 2013, wow, off the charts. I'm going to share these with you in just a moment. And before I do that, I want to let you know about a ridiculous deal that My Patriot Supply is offering specifically for Leak Project listeners. If you have this link, if you're a Leak Project listener, 2 weeks worth of food for $67. Breakfasts, lunches, dinners, and a 25-year shelf life, and it tastes good. And if you have food, you're less likely to be hungry. And Murphy's an optimist, Murphy's Law. Okay, back to the podcast. Will you just look at it? Boom. And this is what I wanted to show you, actually. This is the special specifically. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, drinks, grandma's food. All right, this is what I wanted to show you. This is specifically from Marshall Masters' website. He was on the program yesterday. He's somewhat of a regular. He's been following earth changes now for years. And this really caught my attention during the podcast yesterday, enough so that I wanted to do research and a podcast specifically on this graph. Now, read the articles that he put together, Science 25 and Science 26. This is from Science 25. You can see that there's around 20,000 earthquakes a year from 97 to 2012. Then remember the Mayan prophecy. 2012 to 2013, and the Mayan prophecy, I think, was westernized and Hollywoodized and sensationalized and conspiratorialized. And I also think there's something to the 2012 Mayan prophecies. And I would like to know directly from the Mayans themselves what that prophecy is supposed to mean, because that's the stuff. That's where you get the source is from. The source, oftentimes. Unless you meet somebody that's really cool that knows about the source, that was told about the source from the source, and we'll talk about that later. Total earthquakes per year, jumping from about 20,000 to almost 100,000. That's nuts. So go here, get the deals. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And if you're one of those that doesn't have it, you won't know. And if you're somebody, until it's too late. If you're somebody that has it, you'll know because you already prepared for it. All right. Total earthquakes, you can see here, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018. That's a lot of earthquakes. We're talking January, February, through December, you can see elevated numbers. But look at May specifically this year, 2018, how it's jumped to 14,000 in May. June was even more intense. Now we're getting into the earthquakes worldwide. This chart is off the chart. Hello. All right, I'll be serious because I'm from Sirius and you're not. You're just serious, and that's no fun. Okay, 1997, 16,469 total earthquakes around the world. Did you hear that? Around the world. Round the world. Okay, 98, about the same, a little bit more, 19,000 and some change. You can see it's hovering around 18,000, 19,000, 20,000. 2002, you got a bit of a spike there, 24,000. Then it jumps up to 30,000. So that's a substantial increase from 97. We're up into the 30,000 range. Then it goes back down to 15,000, actually a little bit less in 2009, from 31.5 to 14.8. Do I have 14.9? Do I have 14.9? 14.9, yes, I do. Do I have 22.9? I have 22.9, 22.9, 22.4. Okay, I'll stop. 2012. Look at this, 2012. 19,000 earthquakes total. But look at 2013. Right after December. 2013, 89,565 earthquakes. A quadruple jump, a quadruple spike. That is something that if I took too serious, it might spook me a little bit. So why so serious? Have a little bit of fun here And it might be a good idea to be prepared, and it might be a good idea to live your life and say, you know what, there's always going to be a solution. There's always going to be a rhyme for the reason. There's always going to be somebody, a group of people, something out there that will offset the madness. But still, this is substantial. So this really caught my attention. 2013, 89,000. Then in 2014, 112,555. 2015 goes down a little bit, 100,000. Let's take that back to 97. 16,000 in 97. Now it's up to 112,000 in 2014. 17 years later, almost 100,000 more earthquakes. That's substantial. That's something to really consider when you say, no, there's no signs of earth changes. There's no signs of anything for concern. Yeah, say that to the people in Houston. Say that to the people in Puerto Rico. Say that to the people on all the islands that lost power for months. Say that to those in New Orleans. Hurricane Katrina. Say that to people that lost their lives in Guatemala and Indonesia, and those that are dealing with the effects of Kilauea in Hawaii. Move along, nothing to see here. Just go back and watch your reality TV show. Watch your reality TV show. Now, this is where it gets even more substantial. Let's take a look at this, shall we? 2017, 115,000 earthquakes. Almost 100,000 more earthquakes. Matter of fact, it is. If you go back to 2009, 14,829 earthquakes. 2017, 115,679. Great graph that was put together here on YOWUSA.com. So 100,000 plus more earthquakes. 100,000 more earthquakes last year. And this year, we're up to 51,152 earthquakes.
But I want to watch basketball, man. You mean those little college teams out there and those NBA players are so amazing. Can you see what they should get paid $40 million a year? They're totally worth it. Oh, yeah.
And consumer-driven society they are, because people are making money. They're still paying them $40 million a year. So, hey, good for them. Oh, it's amazing. So, now I'm here monitoring data at Yellowstone. Last year, Yellowstone was hot. Yellowstone was having all sorts of opportunities. And then it, kind of slowed down. And I've been saying there's 10 quakes, or I'm sorry, I've been saying that 10 times Steamboat Geyser has gone off this year. 11 times. It's 11 times. Yep, it has gone off 11 times this year. Isn't that exciting? Where's it at here? Steamboat Geyser, here, I'll show you directly from the site. USGS. Gotta love it. March 15th, 5:37 a.m. Steamboat Geyser erupts. Then in April 19th, April 27th, May 4th, May 13th, May 19th, May 27th, June 4th, June 11th, June 15th, July 6th. Wait a second, July 6th? Wait a second. That was yesterday at 1:38 p.m. Ladies and gentlemen, it went off again. Bazinga! Okay, and then if we go back previous to March, it was about 2 or so years before that. It went off 10 times in a total of 28 years, now 11 times in 4 months. Oh yeah, let's go to Yellowstone again. And I want to bring this up though. I was in Yellowstone recently. If you're new here, you didn't know this, you need to watch these podcasts. I've got tons of footage from around the park. And I did bring up the possibility. I'm like, are there gases being emitted that are causing much of this tree kill, much of these dead trees? And it's these specific pine beetles. I get that. Because there's a lot of pine beetle kill out there, a lot of it. And people were saying, Rex, it's probably not the gases like in Mammoth Mountain. Mammoth Mountain showed a lot of side effects of these emissions, like dead trees and dead grass. Like, look, you can see the grass is still alive and the trees are dead. If it's gas, it's going to destroy If it's gas, it's going to destroy the grass, not the grass destroying the gas. The gas destroys the gas too. So they said that you would see the grass and it would be toast, just like the trees. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. That's why I love you, because people like you are amazing, and you can either debunk or you can solidify the theory, the conspiracy, the hypothesis, the essay. And if you think about it, isn't most of science, especially when you get into some of the higher realms of science, quantum mechanics, quantum entanglement, space and time continuums, multiverse, you get into visualizations and observations, the double slit experiment, etc. And there's so many variables there. So data can present itself in mysterious fashions. So Steamboat Geyser went off again. Where's the news? I don't see any news about it. It's right here. Well, that's what I'm talking about. Somebody said, Rex, I have no shoes on. I'm telling you, I have no shoes on. I'm standing on concrete. And I don't have any furniture in here. So that's why I'm moving around. Plus, it's awesome. So somebody said about Steamboat Geyser, they're like, what if the magma is flowing and it's moving closer to the surface? And in doing so, it's causing Steamboat Geyser to erupt more frequently. That makes sense to me. Now, there were a ton of earthquakes last year in Yellowstone, and I'm trying to find the actual lists specifically because I pulled up a list of earthquakes, and it doesn't show near the amount that was being reported, but this is only in certain parameters. So this is within a 30-kilometer radius of Yellowstone, of the supervolcano caldera, at the 9,200 feet factor, and then the dimensions are here. But there was only, there's 31 in January, 18 in February, 31 in March, 27 in April, 45 in May, 451. So there's a tenfold increase in June. Then July, 314. Then August, 433. Then it slows down. September, 39. October, 62. November, 38. December, 29. Now, then, if you went to the data last year specifically, and I can pull this up, I can find it. I'm sure you can too. And if you look at all the swarms, and if you look at all the earthquakes in a larger area, there were thousands of quakes. There were swarms of hundreds of quakes in a very short amount of time. My hypothesis is, this is just the conspiracy analysis thinking, if there is elevated activity in that area, which there is, and there are signs for concerns, and some will say yes, and others will say no, not at all. Maybe there are contingency plans and strategies to offset the supervolcano, maybe some type of venting system. And I really feel that they, meaning the powers that be that have access to the data that we don't, combined with what information we have access to, and the MFers that fund them, the money funders, as much as people talk about population control and wanting, the powers that be want to see the majority of the population wiped out, which I'm sure there's a lot of them that feel that way. I think there's many out there, if not equally as many, that want to see even a larger population. And they don't want to see that, and they know the side effect. Because a supervolcano of that proportion, even if you're living in an underground resort, 1,000 feet underground, 500 feet underground, whatever, if you're living in a 5-star resort underground and it's amazing and beautiful and luxurious, you're still going to want to come out on the surface. And I don't think that the MFers even want to see that event happen, because it could be an extinction level event. Even underground, it could be an extinction level event. Imagine the tectonic plates that could move. Imagine the hypothesis of these enormous shifts. And even if you're underground and the earth is shifting or magma is erupting in certain areas, what if it has some venting system and it gets to you underground? You're not safe underground either. Even you might be safer, absolutely, You might be safer, but completely safe, I certainly don't think so. I think that maybe a submarine system combined with a boat system that could float, even if it was flipped upside down on all sides, maybe that would be something that could be like these enormous arcs, kind of like 2012 style, but even more efficient and designed to where they could literally be flipped over multiple times and do 360s and stuff like that, and have some type of gravity system designed within the hull, within the actual vessel, to where if you're flipping around, you're still stable enough to where you're not going to be, getting concussions and flapping around all over the place like a dead fish out of water, or a fish out of water that's not dead yet, that's still flapping around. All right, everybody, I would like to thank you once again for watching and being amazing and being kind to one another, and be the change you want to see. Oh, I would like to also, I was going to share the radiation levels with you guys in the last podcast. I turned them on, and they take a minute to calibrate, and then I started talking about something else and lost track here. But the EMF levels are, depending on what my router's doing, they're really good out here. If my router's off, EMF levels are awesome. If the router's on, depending on how close I am to the router, it's pinging hardcore. But you can see right here it's staying in the green zone. If I bring it close to the monitor, real close, it's going to start changing colors because it's picking up on some of that. You can see right there. But also I've noticed, like when the router pings off of your computer, kind of like your cell phone is pinging off in similar sense, I would think, because I've noticed the levels. When your cell phone's in your pocket, even if it's not on, it's pinging cell towers, right? So if your phone's in your car and it's not on airplane mode, it's pinging against towers. So that the EMF levels, you will see fluctuations in EMF levels. The further out in the distance you are, the more it's trying to get the signal, the higher the levels are, and the more dangerous they can be over periods of time. So I've been noticing that when I move my computer in here, and even though my router's in there, when this thing will fluctuate, like I'll get these fluctuations, these spikes, and then I move this even closer to the router and it wasn't pinging as much. And so I wonder if and this would make sense, right? Your computer is Wi-Fi, so the signal's being sent to your computer, and that's what this EMF reader is picking up. It's picking up those levels. But I've also noticed that the radiation levels out here in Colorado, I know the elevation's quite a bit higher, but the radiation levels, like right now it's showing 0.18 microsieverts per hour, which is no sign for concern for me. But earlier it was showing 0.29 microsieverts. Now that isn't a sign of concern for me either in this area. But why do some areas that have elevations just as high as southern Colorado have much lower radiation levels? Is it because, is this picking up more than just solar radiation? You might think so. Now, so you can see it's jumped up to 0.2. Once again, not a sign for concern. When I was out there in Tennessee, nice area, beautiful out there in the Black Hills. There's a uranium processing facility, and I was testing the levels around the facility, and they moved a little bit, but they weren't even that high out there. They stayed pretty low as well, so they do a good job keeping that intact, keeping that under control. So you can see it's up to 0.22 right now. 0.23, it's still moving on up a little bit. If I keep this on for too long, I wonder how high up it's going to go. Let's see if it keeps moving up. Now it's staying at 0.23 right there. So there you go. Just thought I'd update you on the radiation levels.